compound for all of us and we can all come live on it and have like the most lovely, wonderful, like sheep picturesque, like Bible study.
Oh, it would be amazing.
Old prairie living land. Could you imagine $2.5 million? Okay, continues.
They might just fall off. They might be there, which would be fantastic and awesome, and yay, resources being there. But they might not be there.
That should have been our intro. That's it. Woo! I think you got it. Did you get it? Look, a fast mosquito grabber. Hello, friends, and welcome to Happy Homemaking. I am Heidi. This is Sabrina, and this is our weekly talk show of sorts where we like to come together and talk about all the different homey-related things as to Christian women, wives, moms, homesteaders, Hurricane Helene survivors. There's been a lot going on in our lives here lately, and if you haven't seen it already, we'll be sure to link videos at the end and have many different links down in the description with everything going on here in Western North Carolina when it comes to Hurricane Helene. That's really what we spent all of last week covering, our plan of what we were going to be doing in all these videos versus what's happening now. What's happening just in our lives in general is kind of all over the map, because everything literally just got kind of shaken and thrown in every which way and direction. And so we're just trying to pick up the pieces. But of course, we do want to thank everybody for all the donations that have been made to our family, to the relief efforts. You guys asked, what are things we're in need of? We put them on an Amazon list. You guys have been watching our videos and clicking all the links and doing all of the things. And we truly cannot help you, or cannot help you. We truly cannot thank you enough for your help. There it is. As we've been just trying to do what we can to, yes, put our home back together, deal with all of the just destruction and aftermath here. That dog just ran away with one of those claws. Thaddeus, is that necessary? Apparently so. And then, of course, pouring back into our community here and everything that, everybody around us is going through. So we thought for a little bit of normalcy here, because honestly, it kind of sounds nice just to think of doing something somewhat normal, because normal has not been life here lately. We wanted to get into our first topic of happy homemaking, which is, have you heard? Let me just preface real quick before Sabrina gets into this. I live under a rock. It's comical how far under a rock I live. And so she's constantly going, have you heard? Have you heard about this? Have you heard about that? Have you heard about this? And I never know what she's talking about. I never, ever do. I make content. I never watch content. I just don't. I really don't. And so we thought it would be so fun to have a segment here on the show, because what happens when you go over to a friend's house, right? Or you're gathering with someone, another family or whatever, and you all start talking about things. Have you heard about this? Have you heard about that? Thaddeus. Whatever. And so we always talk about those things. And so Sabrina had been collecting things to do for this segment, and then the hurricane hit and life was crazy and we were dealing with all of that. And so she has been sitting on these topics that she has been dying to tell me about for weeks now. And so we're just going to do them. So what have I most likely not heard anything about?
The guys in the living room or in the kitchen were talking about Elon Musk. And I have something that I wanted to tell you about Elon Musk for a very long time, and I haven't been able to tell you. And I've been like, guys, I have this thing and I needed to tell somebody. So I told my husband, and I was like, but if you tell Heidi,
do not do it. Do not tell her. And he was like, okay, weirdo.
Don't you tell Heidi. So, the card game that the kids have been playing? The family Cards Against Humanities game that we got?
Yeah.
That one that they've had like a blast playing.
We were at no power for a week, and then everything with the storm, candlelit card games have been like,
we've dragged the dads into this game, we've dragged the uncle into this game. Like, they have had a blast playing it.
Yes.
And that has made this even worse, because I've been sitting on this from before the hurricane and I haven't been able to say anything, and it has been awful, people. Awful. Okay.
How does this connect to...
Cards Against Humanities is suing Elon Musk for $15 million.
Why?
Okay. Are you ready?
I didn't It's so weird. Why?
Okay. Let me tell you the story. In 2018, Cards Against Humanities did a They called it a publicity stunt, and like that's how the media took it. But I don't know. Cards Against Humanities put out some kind of like Kickstarter campaign where anybody who bought a $15 thing,
Okay.
it was like a donation, they were going to, and I'm not getting into the politics of this because this
Sure.
has nothing to do with the politics for me. I'm just so fascinated with the fact that a card company, like a game company, is suing Elon Musk and SpaceX, because that's actually who they're suing.
SpaceX. Like what did, okay.
2018, Cards Against Humanities puts out a campaign and says that anybody who buys their $15 thing is going to support them buying a piece of property in Brownsville, Texas, where the wall is being built.
Wait, so you give Cards Against Humanity $15 for this game, and it will help Cards Against Humanity buy a piece of property in Texas where the wall is being built.
Yes,
that's okay.
So that they can stop the wall from being built. Again, I don't care about any of the politics. It's not this. Not getting into that.
But that's what they're doing. Okay,
that's what their publicity stunt was. Is they were trying to put a
stop Trump from building the wall type. Okay, got it.
That's what happened. But they were actually successful. They bought a piece of property.
Oh, wow.
They legit they raised like $2.5 million and bought a piece of property in Texas.
The fact, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Our world we live in today is bonkers.
Yes.
It was a different video, but talking about even the things we're seeing going on here with Helene, right? Like governmental things.
See, bonkers. I've been telling you, I've been sitting on this from before then. So right. It's like even harder.
But you're telling me, like I have so many things here because you're telling me that a card game, it would be like Monopoly or categories, Uno is now buying land to stop a political.
Yes. Because they're now in the political realm.
$2.5 million?
Cards Against Humanities.
$2.5 million.
They raised $2.5 million. They bought this piece of property.
Could you imagine raising $2.5 million to buy a piece of property?
Sure can't.
Y'all, we will build a compound for all of us and we can all come live on it and have like the most lovely, wonderful, like sheep picturesque, like Bible study.
Oh, it would be amazing.
Old prairie living land. Could you imagine $2.5 million? Okay, continue. Sorry.
So what had happened was
bananas.
They bought this piece of property and they were going to leave it undisturbed as natural wildlife.
Okay. But then they couldn't build the wall there because
they couldn't build the wall because they were going to leave it as like
so they bought a land that was in a
kind of
area that they're trying to go, and now it's a preserve, so then it's protected. You can't.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, their neighbor SpaceX started landscaping Cards Against Humanity's property. They started encroaching on and going in somebody else's property, trespassing, if you will.
Yeah.
But then they started taking and landscaping it so that the wildlife was being removed, like the bushes and the brush. And it's Texas where people are not living. Like it's just land.
Yeah.
But they're starting to take some of the stuff out and trespass in it. And so they are suing Elon Musk
for wrongful landscape.
$15 million. And if they win, their plan is to give every donor that bought the $15 thing, they're planning on giving them $100. Because they're like, hey, thanks for doing that. We got some money in a lawsuit, so they're going to give the lawsuit, they're going to split it up between the people who donated and give it back to. So Cards Against Humanities is suing SpaceX for landscaping their property. Do you see why I've been like, guys, I have to tell her you cannot say anything about this. It's so weird. It's so weird.
I don't even know what, okay, I feel like our world, which Signs of the Times and all the pieces, like we know the deeper theological, biblical, like end of human, like I get that. I understand that. That is not lost on me ever at any point, because that is the most important part of all of it. the Lord is returning. Everything is doing just as scripture foretold thousands of years ago. Like, we see it.
Yes.
But it's like, you know, like when COVID and everybody was like, it's like watching the fall of Rome, but with Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Like, I feel like sometimes that's it. It's almost like you're watching a bad dystopian show or whatever.
Hunger Games
Games-esque. Which we've made many references here lately, considering our families in Western North Carolina. We were big Hunger Games fans when it came out. So my friend was like, not lost on me that you guys live up in District 13. Anyways, you see those things, then you see the real life stuff happening, and you're like, this is like we're in some movie. Like, which again, whole different topic. With this, I don't know what almost like amuses me the most of just the ridiculousness of our world.
Every piece of it is ridiculous.
I see serious rights and serious wrongs because
absolutely.
from even just a citizen's standpoint, like there's
a law-abiding citizen.
Yes.
We have to follow certain rules, and
Absolutely.
you see the cut and dry black and white of
and
right
there's
and wrongs.
obviously very, very, very real points here. Like, I don't disagree with that. But when you are sitting here going, a dude who started building his own rocket ships is wrongfully landscaping a board games or card games property, all to stop the president who's not even the president anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when you just grab those lines and put it together, you're like, what kind of a circus? But then I think that just adds to the fact of like the job of the mainstream media to keep everybody just so but so no, I haven't heard that.
I bet you hadn't heard anything
and you should be very proud of the other 12 people in our house because nobody spilled the beans and nobody told me about this.
And we had to actually stop what we were doing because the guys were in there talking about an interview with Elon Musk, and they were talking about all the like serious,
all the like Trump rally stuff and things. We were just like, oh wow, that's
so
what
they were talking about Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and last night the kids played Cards Against Humanities, and I was like, oh,
I'm going to do this anymore. I'm gonna explode. Please, can we talk about this?
And so Heidi grabbed her filming stuff, and we literally just sat here because I couldn't take it anymore. Cards Against Humanities is suing Elon Musk, or at least they were.
Wrongful landscaping.
At least they were, because this was a couple of weeks ago, and I know I'm a little late, but like a literal hurricane came through and disrupted our lives, and like, but yeah, that's life right now.
What I'm supposed to do with this information, but like, wow. So if you want something to distract you from the realness of life, just know that the man who builds rocket ships is being sued by a card game for landscaping
in Texas.
So that's what we've heard. What have you all heard? Anybody else heard about this? If you ever have a crazy news story or something you want to share, leave us a comment and let us know, because Sabrina would love to be able to add it to her stash of Have You Heard segments.
Yep.
As many of you have probably heard by now all about the destruction that Hurricane Helene has brought to our home here in Western North Carolina. There's been destruction throughout Georgia, up into South Carolina, devastated all of Western North Carolina, and even up into Tennessee and parts of Virginia. This storm was catastrophic to our area. Towns around us that we've loved don't exist anymore. Our own property took a lot of damage, and there is so much to be done to help these sleepy little mountain towns even begin to recover from something that was so unbelievably unexpected. Well, we have shared about what has happened to our family. We've also shared about the efforts that we have been gathering to try to help those that need it the most. And if you are looking for any way that you can help real people affected by these storms, especially in a time where not only was it so dangerous, so damaging, but we've also had the smallest response from any sort of government organization out there. The only real help that is actually happening here in the area has come from the community, has come from the citizens here, has come from our churches and local groups. And I think that is something that is so beautiful when we have an opportunity to truly live out our faith, to be the church and to pour into those who need it most. And so again, if you're looking for any way that you can help support those affected by Hurricane Helene, we have many different resources linked down in the description. We're raising funds, we are gathering resources, and if you are someone here locally in need, you can also fill out a form so that way we can start directing these supplies we're receiving to you and all the families that need so much after this devastation has come through and wiped out so many homes, so many towns, and so many lives. Thank you all. We appreciate your prayers, your love, and support. Again, check out all of those donation options down below. Please share with businesses, with churches, with groups and communities. This cleanup process, this recovery process is going to be a very long road ahead. And so keep sharing, keep spreading the word. And thank you so much for all the prayer and love and encouragement as our family and our community here of Heavenly Minded Home does all that we can to invest in others. Now, our next segment topic is what's for dinner? The greatest struggle, I think, of pretty much every woman in all of the world, but something that we've been talking about from a much different standpoint since going through Hurricane Helene and no power, no water, no access to things, everything totally cut off. I mean, the devastation, again, I don't know how to properly convey the devastation that we're facing here in Western North Carolina, upstate South Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, it's this whole widespread area here, but there's also that aspect of real life that still has to go on. And how do we move forward?
We're trying to put a really bright, happy spin on really, really devastating things to keep the sanity of the 14 people that we have in our direct household.
Yeah. Right.
So
because there's the reality of it, which is, again, and we've done other videos on that and things addressing that. I mean, survivor's guilt and, these things going on, the reality that is everything moving forward. But then I think what's interesting that we kind of started talking about in our chatty coffee date last week before we had a kind of horrific hornet attack go on and attack a couple of our dogs. We had to kind of cut it short. But again, you guys can go and check that video out if you want to see that conversation, because I think it was a great conversation until we got totally stopped. But what's interesting is the off-grid, self-sustainable homestead movement of sorts has always been something that we were both really interested in, even separately, and live to a degree.
Yes.
It's something that we both did in various different times and ways and all of that. And for us coming together here, because we're on property, we've got 8 acres, which again isn't the biggest thing in the whole wide world, but it's more than enough space. It was kind of one of those end goal things we wanted to get to. Yeah. And then so having this hard hit catastrophe that kind of forced us into it really has us rethinking a lot of the things in life just in general.
Yes.
And so for us, it really was, the past little bit, what's for dinner has been, what can we find? What is even available? Trying to mix eating canned foods with fresh foods so that we're not doing it all the time. We're going to be answering y'all's questions about, I thought it was great, kind of the do we see ourselves as becoming preppers now? What would we do to be prepared? How would we address some of these different things? I mean, those will be future videos that we're going to tackle in depth. But really looking at just the sustainability of it. And I think that one of the biggest things we've learned from this is when there is a real disaster, which again, this whole Hurricane Helene thing for Western North Carolina and just the whole area here in the Southeast was so impossible to be prepared for.
Absolutely.
It was so unimaginable what has happened that none of us could have been. Again, it's like telling everybody in South Florida to be prepared for, being a desert. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever to even how do you even connect those things when it's so out of character for where you live and what life is like.
People in Florida do not have blizzard insurance.
Right.
That's not something that they even offer to Floridians. Right.
Because that would be insane, right? Like,
that's how it kind of feels. A hurricane hit, but it was not the hurricane. It was what happened because of hurricane, but it was not like the winds of the hurricane that damaged as much.
Yeah.
It was more torrential downpour and volume of water.
Yeah, that is just
volume of water has
out of control.
Landslid and accumulated and compiled into mass destruction.
Yeah.
So nobody could prepare for that, because when you hear hurricane, you think, oh, it's yeah, it totally has water in it, but it's a lot of like winds and movement, and it was a lot of heavy downpour with wind, but more heavy downpour.
Yeah. And it is, and so it has you thinking of those things. I know you're so happy we're out here, huh, Thaddeus? It has us really breathing into my microphone. Sorry for that. It has us really thinking about just kind of the moving forwardness of, again, always kind of having those long-term goals of like growing the homestead, being more sustainable, kind of doing different things, which again, I feel like we've all, like both of our families individually, have been kind of doing to a degree. But it really just kind of, one, I think showed us we can do it.
Yes.
And then two, showed us how much we want to do that.
It was really interesting because my family had just arrived here. So it's not even like we got to put any of the pieces together before this happened, but it does show us what we want to work towards. And it is feeding our own families and having that little bit of security while not becoming a everyday prepper.
Right. Which again, I think has some great conversation to have in that. But it's interesting when we look, you know, like for our families, we all really eat very like clean, real food anyways. Like those are things that
the least amount of ingredients, the better.
And real food that, you know, we know what we're consuming, wanting to get to the point that we are eating, you know, locally and, you know, things like that. Like that's always been something we've wanted to do. It just, life hadn't afforded us that. We're on very tight budgets, like both of us. We don't have big budgets to just buy all the things. But it really has been interesting in all of this where it's like, okay, how do we do it? Because I feel like sometimes, and I mean, even irregardless of food, but I think for food, this happens so often where it's like, I'm going to work on that. I'm going to clean up my diet. I'm going to cut these things out. I'm going to deal with my soda addiction or my whatever, right? Like we have those things of like, oh, I'm going to do that, or I know I need to, or whatever. And it's just that sometime, tomorrow, next month, right? Like it always just gets put off on that thing. And the next thing you know, years have gone by, you know, and nothing has ever changed.
When all the circumstances are right, I think I might plan on cleaning up the way I eat and walking more.
Right. Yeah. Every January 1st, you set those goals, and by the 5th, you know, you've forgotten them. Yeah. But I feel like for us, it's kind of been like, we are in no way, shape, or form able to do that today. Like we have kind of tried to pull together a new menu plan based off of more canned things, what's available, more flexibility, because the truth is here for our area, things aren't going to be normal for a while.
We don't know what there's available.
No.
We don't know when it's going to be available.
Like interstates are shut down. Mountains have like slid down and destroyed so much. My husband and I went out today and we made a turn, and I was filming something, and he goes, "Are you sure we're going the right way?" And I'm like, "Yes, we're going the right way." And he goes, "I don't remember it being a one-way road." And I look in, like he's driving, so I look forward. Half the road is gone. We're now like, we come around the corner and we are on a 1-lane road that was not a 1-lane road a week and a few days ago, you know? So you're just like, what is going on? Like, this doesn't just get fixed. Like, there's a lot of destruction. Like our stores, they're trying to get things in, right? They're doing as much as they can. We have friends that are allowing us to ship stuff to their house. They're bringing it to it. Like there's things happening, but we're having to look at our menu plan and our budgets and our everything and go, okay, we're having added expenses, we're having this, we're having that. What do we do? How do we tweak? How do we adjust? But I think it is worthwhile at the same time to say, okay, obviously it's fall. So now is the perfect time to start prepping some stuff. Now, obviously, we're not going to be harvesting anything for months and months to come still. Like, we're at the tail end of everything here.
This is harvest season. So
Right.
everything that we should have done prior, our family was moving and your family was preparing for us.
Yeah.
So there was no preparing the
Mm-mm.
land. There was preparing for movement.
Yeah.
And now we have winter where everything is dormant.
Mhm.
And then in the spring, so there's no growing. Obviously, I know you can grow winter crops, but like there's no growing and harvesting until spring.
Yeah.
So we have like at least 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Kind of
So
area.
obviously, we're not going to be feeding our family off of the land anytime soon.
Oh,
That's not
no.
going to happen. Walmart grocery order, thank you so much. Like, that's obviously going to be it. But I think it is interesting that so often we put off those things we need to do. Like, we put off cleaning up our diet. We put off doing these things. We put them off. And I understand that right now doesn't seem like the best timing, right? It is harvest season. Nothing can be harvested, right? Like, I get it. I understand that. But now is better than not at all. And so we can start preparing and plotting. We went to the library today. We picked up a bunch of books. We're starting to like plot out and map out our stuff and go, okay, I know this was a down the road thing for us that we both really, really wanted to accomplish. That just moved up on our priority list. Because not that I'm expecting, they're calling this the 1,000-year flood, because it was so just insane. What was it, 1916? There was a really crazy, not exactly the same, but kind of similar situation, but it really is a like not normal thing that happens. And so I'm not expecting this to happen again anytime soon, but I do believe that we should take the lessons the Lord gives to us in the circumstances we go through. And the one thing that we've learned the most is that all those resources you expect to be there for you, they're not going to be there.
They might just fall off. They might be there, which would be fantastic and awesome, and yay, resources being there. But they might not be there.
Like, 911 didn't work throughout South Carolina, North Carolina, and Tennessee. How does 911 not work?
Nobody could use a phone.
Nobody, like the whole dispatch systems were down. Phones are down, right? Stores, like I would have never even imagined that I-40 could just fall off a mountain. Like that's so unbelievably.
For Californians, that would be like I-5 going missing.
Just being gone.
Poof, I-5 go missing. That's from Canada to Mexico.
Yeah.
Like
it doesn't happen. It's not a possibility. And now it is. And so things can't be shipped. Trucks aren't coming. We were stuck. Like all of these pieces start coming in and you go, wow, maybe these things just moved up on our list.
I think that, so I don't even remember when it was, but we were talking about the habits that we make in the last quarter of 2024 set us up for 2025.
Why we're doing our habit series in the collective and working on those things. Yes.
That's essentially what I've been thinking of is the habits that we're doing now in the last quarter of 2024 because it's October. Actually will really set us up for 2025 being a much more productive year. And because it's in the fall/winter, everything is going dormant. So that provides us the space to draw in and to learn and research and find out all of the information to then put it into action in the beginning of the year when you need to start planting and doing all of the things. So in that way, I think that we're really, really preparing for next year. But that's what we're doing is we're just preparing. It's awful because we can't do the things now and prepare for the future, but we are learning for future things.
And it is still worthwhile to start prioritizing that. So what's for dinner? It's a lot of canned foods that has been gifted to us, which we are forever grateful for because yes, shortages are very, very real out here right now. But stay tuned because this time next year, It should be a beautiful, beautiful bounty. And she's going to have the best garlic and onion braids you have ever seen. So just stay tuned. Now, for all of you here who have heard me talking about my Primal Queen beef organ supplements, yes, you're going to hear this out today. One, because this is amazing. I've been using it for months. I continued to take it even during our chaos of Hurricane Helene for many different reasons, but one especially in this season for me with high stress, being outdoors, dealing with everything going on, but also for the months coming ahead of cold and flu season. Nothing has boosted my immune system like taking these supplements. I have seen so many results from them, and honestly, I keep seeing more each additional month that I'm taking them. So yes, are they amazing? Do I believe in them? Am I still taking them? Many of you have asked. Yes, I have, and yes, I'm going to continue. They are phenomenal. But I also want to add in here this point for anybody wanting to find a way to help support our family, heavenly minded home in our efforts here with restoring ourselves, but also restoring our community after Hurricane Helene has come through and wiped out everything in Western North Carolina. You can do so simply by ordering your own Primal Queen supplements. They switched out, they have a new system, and for anybody who goes and creates a new account at Primal Queen using my link down below, you can type in my special code organs and save 25% off of your order, which is an amazing deal. And then Primal Queen will actually go ahead and gift us a little bit of a kickback to help these efforts of continuing to build up, pay it forward, and to not only spread the word of good, natural, God honest to goodness health and healing through using beef organs, but also being able to raise some of these funds to help all of the restoration needed so greatly here in Western North Carolina. So again, I'm taking them. I'm loving them. I've got family, friends taking them. I mean, we're really seeing the day-to-day health benefits, especially with the boost to our immune systems and everything going on. And when you sign up for a new account, put all your info in there, use my code ORGANS so that way you can save a 25%. Sign up for your subscription here today, give it a test run and see how well it works for you as well, while being able to pay it forward and help a great cause at the same time. So Primal Queen is a win for me, and if it can be a blessing to you, you know it. I have it linked down below. Our next segment here is our greatest home struggle. And at least now, thankfully, very, very thankfully, we do have power and water back, which is
Monumental.
Just monumental, absolutely huge. Being able to flush toilets, wash things, clean dishes, like not be hauling water up from a creek and sanitizing it and boiling it and chopping wood and like doing all of the things. Yes, very, very thankful for that. But I think an interesting point is in our home struggle now, it's been more so of how do we take the lessons learned from a very trying period for us, a massive hurricane, unlike anything our area has seen in like 1,000 years, and transitioning back into normal, but also gleaning from what you learned in that period of struggle to help you improve moving forward.
Yes.
Because for us, like, I do think life is as lovely as you choose to see it. And so while we were in the midst of going through all the things, we still played games with the kids. We still found lovely ways to enjoy and, yes, make a cup of hot coffee and sit by the fire in the morning. She's like, I'm out of here. I'm gone. Off to the woods. She's just it was just, that part of going and saying, okay, like, I can't, yes, there's very real destruction, there's very real just trial and heartache and things happening, whether it's a time of sickness, a time of financial struggle, a time, whatever it might be that your family is facing, right? It doesn't have to be living outside because your house was hit by a hurricane, right?
Did you have a new baby and feel like you've been hurt by a hurricane? No problem. This is what it feels like.
Yeah.
We're in it. It's okay.
Yeah. But you look at that and you go, okay, so how do we now find normal again?
Yeah.
But how do we also, at the same time of trying to put the things together, glean from the lessons learned in that? like we started really noticing things in that week. Well, yes, it was incredibly difficult.
Yes.
We all are exhausted mentally, physically, spiritually, right? Like we are all worn down.
None of us have caught up on sleep.
None of us have caught up on sleep.
Nope.
People aren't feeling great. The stress levels have been so high. That affects you. Obviously, now the recovery phase and the cleanup. And I mean, our whole house has to be emptied, scrubbed, assessed, figure out what can go back, what isn't destroyed, and then figuring out how to replace all the things that are destroyed, right? Like it's monumental, but then that like survivor's guilt of it too, because some neighbors don't even have a home, you know, at least we do have a house. Yeah.
And to sanitize, because some neighbors don't have a house to sanitize. Some people don't have loved ones to share that house with any longer
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
But how do you survive without constantly struggling through it all?
Yeah. And I feel like for us, like we kind of kept assessing throughout the week of no power, no nothing, certain little pieces of like, I like this. I like that instead of everybody kind of going off and doing their own thing, we're all out here because we're gathering around the fire.
The one flashlight that lights up the dining room table at night is really congregated around, and the games are pulled out because it's something that you can all do together around the table.
Because there's no light anywhere else, and we can't just have everybody taking the flashlights and like running off all willy-nilly with them. So like we have to be very careful.
Person cannot have all of the flashlight. Everybody needs a small portion of it. So we are learning how to share and congregate together to use our resources more wisely.
Right. Like to go and bathe in the creek, we all go together so we can watch out for, you know, dangerous things and stuff that one might find down in a creek. But also because when it's not flooded, it's not that deep. So like you need someone to help you wash your hair and do the things, right? So it's like things like that. That's like, all right, it was just easier to be like, all right, girls, let's all put on our swimsuits, head down to the creek and get everything taken care of. Like just the aspect of togetherness, because well, sticks have to be collected, but so does wood. Trees have to be chopped down. Then they have to be split. Then they have to be tended. You know, you like had all those different pieces. And so it was so interesting to see the like, we need to find that new normal now.
Yeah.
Because literally the entire house has to be stripped, has to be cleaned, has to be, you know, we kind of took a little bit of time at first of like, everyone's exhausted. Everyone is so beyond worn down. It's really hitting everybody. I'd say in this past week, it really started hitting the weight of it.
We had one of our family members had to go to urgent care.
Yep. And have a surgery. That was fun. Yeah.
Unexpectedly. We had dogs that were viciously attacked by huge swarm of hornets. So we've been mending and taking care of and coddling the wounds of animals, and we're just run down and like at a low, but we're building together to then build up.
Right.
I keep thinking Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right. And it doesn't kill you, makes you stronger. But like it does, right? Because it's like, as much as you want to, it's like, okay, so what can we learn from this?
Yeah.
And we've been all kind of sitting here like, okay, how do we grab those pieces that we loved and weave them into our day? How do we move forward taking the lessons learned through such a traumatic event and saying, Lord, I know that you have a reason and a blessing and a purpose and a plan in everything. So, okay, we hear you. We want to move forward in that. And I think it's a lot of slowing down.
We've talked about that a lot this last week.
I know, like after we've been sick, right? We've had a couple years here lately where we've had surgery, we've had extreme illness, we've had things like that, and like extended, prolonged periods of sickness and just goofiness in life. And I get frustrated and I just want it all fixed today. Go, 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 go. Fix it right now. I'm just going to deep clean the house, reset everyone's schedule. Done deal. We're doing this. That's what I usually do.
Man, if I could just overturn everything in a day, it would all be better.
Uh-huh.
And then I could just move
Ta-da!
on.
I'm like hard reset all the time. I'm just like unplug it out of the wall, plug it back in, and be like, all right, let's go. But I do that to like my whole family. I'm like, okay, come on, we've got this, guys.
Wow. Okay.
And usually I have enough gumption within me that is how it works. But what I find is so interesting is this seems like it hit all 14 of us much deeper.
Yep.
Understandably. And so now it's like in the moving forward pieces, it's like, okay, I'm not talking about we need to like reset our schedule, get our homeschool routine straightened out. You know what I mean? Like it's so much deeper and bigger than that it's
Yep.
like, oh, and there was also that piece of like during like the first week after the hurricane hit, we had nothing. And so it was like legit pioneer life. Hauling water, chopping wood, drying the wood because everything's wet from, a massive historic hurricane. Then finally getting to burn the wood because we spent so much time drying it, right? So it was like such a big process that it was so fascinating that like we would all kind of chuckle at the end of the day because as the sun was setting, we are all exhausted, like ready to fall over. We're all so tired. We rose with the sun, went to bed with the sun. And then as we're doing that, we would kind of chuckle and we're like, we did 2 things today, right? Got water, boiled water, right? Like you look at it, it's like
we all said the same thing. What did we do today? Where did the day go?
Like we were so busy all day.
Oh, we just woke up and then like now it's time to go to bed. Well, what did we do all day? And then somebody would pop off with, we survived. That's what we did. We survived and that was enough.
We boiled water.
We kept
all
day.
That was all we did.
And continued to boil water so that somebody could drink something.
Yeah. To keep something going. Literally one dad would tend one fire to get a meal a day of food for us.
Yes.
And the other dad would tend a fire to get the bare minimum of water for us,
yes.
And that was like all day jobs.
Yes.
And so I think there is something in that like home struggle of being able to go about it slower.
Everything doesn't have to be done now, even though we really, 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 really just need it done right now. And why hasn't it happened yesterday?
Right. I want to wake up tomorrow morning. I can't, like the house is so overwhelming to me right now. I can't even walk in there.
Outside is really nice.
Outside is wonderful. So hello,
look
here
how
we are.
lovely it
Gorgeous.
is.
The sheep are back there just grazing. It's just absolutely beautiful.
The sun has just set over the crest, so it's still like lit and lovely, but the sun is not beaten down and it's not 85 with 60% humidity.
Right. But inside is an entire house that needs to be emptied, scrubbed, sorted, evaluated. Like, all the things that just can't happen like that. And then we have one person down after having a surgery, one person down because they're not feeling well, one person down, right? Like you have all the pieces.
Yep.
And so kind of having that like forced slowness to it is like, okay, it allows, I think, those lessons to almost sink in deeper because we're going,
we could allow the frustration of it all to just eat away at us and destroy morale.
Oh yeah.
Because it would just eat at it and consume. Frustration consumes.
Yep.
And it boils and it just festers and then it explodes.
Yep.
And instead of letting it dwell and fester, we are acknowledging that we are all very frustrated. This is a very frustrating situation. It ain't easy for anyone.
Nope. Not even a little bit.
Everything is weird and it's acceptable that everything is weird and chaotic and it's okay and we will get there and it's just a one day at a thing kind of thing and it's okay. It's okay.
But God, right? We grab those lessons, we grab those pieces, you move about it, and then every day might be a little bit better than the day before. And that's okay. The greatest home struggle for us, I'd say
we're struggling with struggling.
We're struggling with struggling. That's the best summary of the whole thing. A huge way that you can help our family and our community as we pour in for all the recovery here after Hurricane Helene honestly can be done by you just doing your same normal things that you do anyways. What I mean by this is we have a Walmart account and I share on it many different things that our family uses and loves all the time. When you shop using any of our special links down below, you click on that link, go buy any of the things that we've suggested, buy anything else you might have on your normal order that you're placing with Walmart anyways, have it delivered, do a pickup order, just place your order online, and Walmart even pays a little bit of affiliate income back to us, which we then can take and pour right back into the community here that needs it most. And so I want to encourage you all to check out our links to our Walmart storefront. You can peruse around the different things that our family uses and loves and recommends, some of my favorite grocery options, different household items that we use, homeschool resources, even some fun dresses and more. We have it all linked over there. You can shop through our things, add whatever things you have to the cart, get your pickup order or your delivery, and you'll be also helping our cause here in Western North Carolina, building up our community and restoring from Hurricane Helene simply by getting on and doing your own thing. And bonus, it doesn't cost you an extra penny more. You're getting the stuff you'd be getting anyways. And so for everybody using our Walmart link, clicking on that, sharing it with others, we greatly, greatly appreciate you. And you are adding in here to the effort to do so much good in a community that needs it so desperately right now. So thank you. Keep clicking those links, passing them on, and helping everyone out in the process. That should have been our intro. That's it. So next topic here, what are you studying? So super excited because our struggle with studying was that we didn't have anything to study. Yes. And then I started a study, which you are welcome to come and join us, because over in the HMH Collective in our membership group, we are doing a Proverbs 31 woman living out godly habits and working through the Bible reading challenge. We have sermons we're doing. I had started it, then the hurricane hit, and so we got a little behind, but that is okay. Videos are going up. You guys are welcome to do these whenever you find this. I will link the details down below. But for us, it's nice to be able to get back on track. Post-storm now, we have power, we can pull things up and do stuff. We're going through the book of Ecclesiastes, and we're going through it slowly, which I thought is funny because I thought of that idea well before all of this chaos of life started. But there's another puppy coming to visit us. Ecclesiastes is like one of my favorite books in the entire Bible. I love it so much for just the realness and application to life for every single one of us. And I think the more there's amazing sermon series we're doing through with it that I love so much. And so we have different videos we're listening to throughout the week, or not videos, but they're like audio sermons. Slow living. I feel like that's something, again, that both of us have really tried to.
You were trying to explain it to our family the other day. We were sitting around the bonfire. And you were like, it's like off grid, but not off grid because I still want to be able to be connected to grid. But then what is the word for this? And we were talking and we determined that it's slow living.
It's being intentional. It's, for us, like, we've all kind of done this. Like our family, we left the like rat race of it all, start our own business and moving up to the mountains. Like I feel like we do things very differently. Like yes. I feel like for years now we've been very intentional to live very different and very set apart. But then again, you have this like really big catastrophic crazy thing that happens and it just shows you where like, wow, I do need to prioritize that more. Like I do need to move that way more because that is where I need to be. Like you see that piece in it. And it's like the more doing it, and again, just like coupled with Ecclesiastes, I feel like it just confirms that God gives us such freedom in what living a life for Christ looks like. And you see so much wisdom tucked in scripture from Old Testament to New Testament of what it means to live heavenly minded, what it means to live a life focused on the things that are eternal and how that impacts the things here in the temporal.
Because it does.
It does.
It's not just totally heavenly minded and we're only worried about our afterlife.
Yeah.
we're heavenly minded and we are worried significantly about our impact in our lives here and now, but not the impact on places or things here, our impact on the people who are here.
Yeah.
Because we are so heavenly minded, we want to make sure that all the people are there with us, not that we need to bring heaven here.
Right.
But that we need to bring all our people to heaven with us.
Right, exactly. And it's like the more you look at it and you do it, you look at, Solomon, the wisest man, and, all of the wisdom that he has to give and shed. The dogs are now like super hyped up and running circles around the yard. But like the more you see that, the more you just go, but he's so right. What am I so focused on? What am I so worried about? What am I trying to accomplish? Like, do I have goals and things I'm trying to accomplish? Yes, I do. I promise you, I do. We all do, right? We all have them. But then there's that piece of like, but what are those goals? What are those focuses? And what are we trying to get to? I guess I should move this down a little bit. But it really is kind of that piece of reading through scripture. And I love that we're doing this slowly. We're doing a chapter a week filled with multiple sermons. So you're really like soaking it in.
Oh my goodness. I just realized that at the beginning of the year, you read through the whole Bible in 3 months. So you were like all fast kind of. And
now we're literally going
and now
through.
You're like super, super slow-moing it. So first you were like that. Because stop motion.
Yes. Yeah.
And then now you're like slow motioning it.
But I think that's so amazing because I feel like life's that way.
Zoom out.
I love reading the entire Bible in 1 month. It is one of my favorite ways to do it because you get everything in like one picture. I really do love it. But then I also love contrasting that with going through something at a snail's pace. And I feel like life is that way sometimes because sometimes it is the hurry and rush.
Yeah.
Right? Like sometimes there are the things you think of like a new baby coming or disaster striking or, right? Like sometimes there's those things. But then there's this like slow, beautiful, peaceful life where you really do just enjoy the blessings in like every ounce that you can soak up.
Yes.
And I think that there is so much to balance in that. And I think that for so many of us, that's such a hard thing to figure out. Like, how do you actually go about that?
I have a very hard time zooming in and focusing on the things that really, really matter when everything is going on so fast around me. Because I know that I'm supposed to be slow and methodical and focused, but I feel like the world is so quick and so on it, and they've got it all figured out, and I'm still like putting piece A and B together, and they're at M and N, and I'm like, but aren't you excited? I got A and B together. Woohoo!
It's like, what? You're still on A and
B. And I'm like, but I like read through the whole instruction manual and I know what I'm at least thinking about doing now. And but when you are comparing yourself to the fast pace of it all, it's really hard to think that you're doing anything right if you're going so slow.
Yep.
But going slow is so important because it means that you've really gotten to dig in and deep and understood it to a considerably deeper level than if you were to just zoom through it. There are certainly times where we're supposed to just like close your eyes, button down, go through, beat feet, do it, sure. But then there are times that you're supposed to be real thoughtful about it and learn the deep lessons.
And I think scripture's so amazing in that way because I feel like you just see that over and over and over again as you're reading through book by book, chapter by chapter, verse by verse, and kind of seeing that through, this time in Ecclesiastes partnered with this time of like reality of life around us and going, wow, Lord, I hear you. Like I see those lessons being played out in front of us. And so how can I glean from this? How can I not only study this, but then apply it and grow in all these ways here in my life? And so while I'm enjoying what we're studying, I'm really loving seeing it like
literally play out in
yeah,
front of
like
us.
literally play out in front of us. And I think that it is helpful when you do have those times of slowness, because I feel like sometimes the Lord needs you to hurry and stretch and go, right? That rubber band where you shoot it off and shoom, it's out there. But then other times you need to be that sponge that was like, so you know, you take a really dry sponge. It's like the one I forgot in the bucket, and then it's really dry and it's all like shriveled up, and then you set it on like the plate with some water and it just slowly starts like expanding out. I feel like that can be just as valuable in our time of study as well.
Absolutely.
So for me, I'm loving it through Ecclesiastes. And everything that we're doing over there in our study, that again, if you want to come and join us, you're more than welcome to come and join us. It's really a wonderful time with a beautiful community of sisters in Christ. But don't just read it, apply it, live it, let it work within your life. And I think that, again, in God's providence of all of this, I just knew I wanted to do a Bible study and I wanted to slow down. And then like I'm seeing how it's connecting in life, and I'm like, y'all, I don't know if this is working for any of you all, but it is like speaking volumes to me. And I know we're really enjoying that piece of it. So that's what we're studying. I want to pause real quick and invite you to come and join me over in the HMH Collective. That's our membership group right here on YouTube, where we are going through and doing a 12-week study, living out our faith as a Proverbs 31 woman and building up godly habits in the reality of the day-to-day. And I know, especially here and now, with structures falling apart, flood damage, tree damage, everything we have going on after Hurricane Helene, this really has still been such a blessing. We're going through, we're working on these habits, we're having amazing discussions, we're doing a Bible reading challenge, we're going through sermons, we're having this amazing private community where we can encourage one another and build one another up. And what a perfect time of year, in whatever storm of life you might have been going through, to take a little bit of time to reset, refocus, and build up godly habits in your life. So I'd love it if you would want to come and join me for this study, as we're going to cover so much. I'll link additional resources down below. Click the join button, and with a monthly donation, as little as just $5 a month, you're supporting our ministry and the efforts we have here, while getting not only this study, the booklet, the sermons, the Bible reading, the private community, but every series we've ever done as well. There's so many resources over there that we truly pray can be a blessing to you in your life. So come over and join us here while we work on building up these godly habits for 12 weeks, digging in, understanding what Scripture has to say about it, and how we can practically apply these things each and every day, live out our faith, and see the Lord work in our lives through our faithfulness. Amen? I'll see you over there. Finishing up this week's Happy Homemaking, as we are trying to find whatever life looks like after this massive impact of the hurricane, and just life really being uprooted and trying to weigh through all of it. I want a lovely life that isn't dependent upon an external source making it lovely. I want to build a lovely life that's lovely because of the roots I'm planting. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like, I don't want lovely because I have a brand new home and beautiful,
My life is lovely because I have a Mercedes and all is right in the world.
Right. Like, sure, is a custom built designer home gorgeous? Yeah,
Absolutely,
they're beautiful. And come on.
Why do you think people pay so much money for them?
And you look at like most women who are on YouTube doing stuff like this. I get it. We're odd man out because most of them are in those big, beautiful design, and good for you. Like, that's fantastic. That's what you have. That's what you love. That's what you want to do. Like, go for it. Wonderful for you. Like, that's great.
I live in a fifth wheel.
Right. Like, and that's great. And there was a time in my life where I lived in big, beautiful homes and had things like that and thought that that was the most important. But then it's like, especially lately with all of this, you know, I live in an older home that needs a lot of work. And you're right. If I had the ability to gut it and fix it, I would in a heartbeat, because I would love to make it more like just what our family needs it to be. Old
Mhm.
house problems, right? Things are just weird. And you're like, I wish this wasn't like this, or I could change this or whatever, right? Like you guys have this beautiful fifth wheel, which I tell you still offer stands. If you want the big house, I'll take the fifth wheel. Like I promise you, I'm so down for this.
It's a 2014. So
It's so cool, you
it,
guys.
but it's convenient.
It's wonderful. But you guys have like, you're making it so cozy. I love
I'm
going in
trying.
there. You are. And don't worry, we're totally
I'm
going to put this on
trying.
blast and share it with you. Because I think that's that piece of it of like looking around and being outside and looking at the property. We're sitting here watching the sheep and the dog play, and then the dogs over here playing, and then the sheep are grazing, and just the bistro lights and the pallet fence and the even the grass that needs to be mowed and all of the things. Like the more I look at it, the more I go, you know what, like I have spent so much time trying to balance doing all the things that I feel like the people want from me while still building up my life in how I feel the Lord really has called me to live it, pouring into our children and our home and all of those things. But
those two things don't always correlate either.
Yeah.
So the things that all the people want, and I'm assuming you're not meaning your direct internal family,
external people
that you're speaking of, that other people, the external expectations that everybody feels like we have. Your coffee table can't have cups on it. Why is the dish soap? I saw this thing that said that rich people never have dish soap on their counters because they don't have a need for dish soap because they have somebody who comes and does all their dishes. So it makes your home look poor if you have dish soap on your counter. And I remember reading this forever and ever and ever ago and just thinking, I am never going to look like a rich person ever. My house is always going to have dish soap on the counter because it is convenient for my children, and I would rather cleanliness and clean over other things. Did you never have your dish soap on the counter?
No, okay, no. Mine is out. You saw it. It's on a cute little tray and a cute little bottle. But when I stayed at a friend of the family's who lives in a
Is that what they did? Because is it real? Is it a real thing? And I didn't just read about it in a magazine or like on the news. And like, I don't read magazines, but I probably saw it on one of those YouTube videos or something.
I have had an instance where I stayed at a wonderful, wonderful friend's home that might be a multi-million-dollar, like lives with all the celebrities in Los Angeles type setting. And yes, there were a handful of things that when you stay in a home like that, you go, oh, do you have the insert very normal household thing here? And yeah, it's like
it's put away and like hidden away like because it's not used, or it's used by only
the housekeepers. Staff. Yeah. Because she employs multiple people who just...
I would be the staff. Like I am the staff of my own home.
So as soon as you said that, I was like, actually, I felt very awkward just leaving my stuff for the staff to handle. And so I tried to do it myself. But then I was like, where's your dish soap?
Because you're a rich, fancy person who doesn't keep it on the counter like I do.
So that was so funny when you said that.
But they have a certain level of like home. And I've had to accept that my level of home is never going to be that level of home.
No.
I'm totally okay with this.
Like, good for them. If that's what your level of home is, and that's fantastic. Give God the glory and live it out to the fullest, right? Like, that's wonderful.
I was not given that.
But your home isn't home because you don't have that either.
Nope. I wasn't given that opportunity. I wasn't given those resources. So I have to use the resources I was given to make my house as homely as possible. Not homely like, oh, she's so homely.
Yeah.
No. But like homey, like
cozy, lovely.
Is like aesthetic peaceful to our family. It is what we desire, and it helps us draw in without having to be that certain level of posh.
Right.
I'm not posh. I'm as come on now. It's bad, guys.
No, but I don't know, like, okay, hurricane, we have flipped over trees everywhere. Massive, huge trees that like it blows your mind because you're like, how is a tree that big with that deep of
Yes.
roots just flopped over, right? Well, that's the extent of the storm. But the more you look at it, the more I'm like, wow, I want to focus on changes for my family and for my home, but changes that are the changes for the root. Like, I want to tend my roots.
So I was just thinking about that. I've barely laid roots here. And
like, you've literally been here for a month.
Yep. There are very shallow roots here. There are really deep roots between my family members.
Right.
But the roots for this location are very, very narrow. They're shallow. I'm okay with them being shallow in the area for right now because I have not had time to establish them.
Right.
But it would be even harder if my family's roots were not at, like, I kind of think of us as like a pot bound plant where the roots are not necessarily super duper duper deep, but they're real compact. I want those same compact roots, but now I want to put them in the ground and let them go bananas under the soil and just dig
and
deep.
That plant will
and
just
still
thrive like there's no
because
tomorrow.
the roots have all been entangled together and have made themselves secure.
Sorry, Thaddeus attacked the chicken, but your husband saw it and stopped him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not
our
attacked.
Our Great Pyrenees tries to play with his
best friend,
which is a chicken. One Great Pyrenees best friend is a sheep. The other Great Pyrenees best friend is a chicken.
Yep.
But chickens and Great Pyrenees are not really the best playmates because Great Pyrenees are massive. So this poor chicken gets like mauled and he's like, I'm just playing with you. I'm like, buddy, you're gonna kill it. So I'm so sorry. I heard commotion, but your husband caught it, and so chicken is safe. But yes, it's how do we tend those things? Because yes, the relationships, we have both been families that have really focused on our families' relationships with one another, our relationship with our spouse, our relationship with our children's relationship with one another. Like, that is the key component to our life. My children are not allowed to pursue any relationship outside of the relationships within the home if something is awry, right? Like, if we're having issues and struggles, then forget about anything. Like, this is what is priority. This is what we focus on.
Yep.
But how do we move forward, like you said, kind of taking that pot bound
how do you take that ball of
and
plants and let it go deep and draw in deeper? How do we get it to be more stable and more secure and dig those real deep tap roots that get to draw from the under resources that nothing else can touch? Because once you get, like, everything draws from the surface water, but if you can get a plant to dig that taproot down to the under part, it won't need surface level anything to survive because it has all of the resources and nutrients that it needs from well within.
Right.
And
those are those plants that thrive in a drought because they have that
as
down
Californians.
There. Yes, as Californians, we know a lot about drought. Now, here for the biggest hurricane the Southeast has ever seen, we're learning about water. But but it kind of is that piece of like, how do we move forward?
Yeah. How do we dig deep roots?
Yeah. We don't know, so stay tuned. That's what we're going to continue to talk about. But if that's an area, I feel like some of us, like, I hear this and I almost feel it in my spirit where I'm like, yes, that meaningfulness, that completion, that contentness, that just peace and true lasting, like, soul nourishing joy of life.
If something happens to the surface level of a plant that has tap roots, it doesn't bother the plant. Oh, look at that little chipmunk digging in my surface roots, trying to plant his little acorns. Not gonna hurt me. I got big old tap roots. And then the plant is not disturbed whatsoever. Lots of things can happen to it because it is solid and secure and like deep. It's not going anywhere. Its foundation is there and solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That. How do we do that?
Yes.
That's what we're going to keep talking about because that's a big piece that I think, if we're all being honest, we're probably all looking for that, or cultivating that to a degree, or wishing we were, you know. So happy homemaking. That's what, whoo, I think you got it. Did you get it? Look, a fast mosquito grabber. So proud of you. Good job. Happy homemaking, catching mosquitoes, surviving a hurricane, and digging into deep taproots to build strong families, strong bonds, and true meaning in life. We'll see you all next week. Bye, friends.
Bye.